So it's Chris. Imagine you just lost all your board games. I saw this on Reddit. I thought it was a good topic for a video. You get $300 to replace whatever you want with current prices. What games are you going to get? Which ones are you going to go for? How many are you going to go for? What variety are you going to go for? Which ones, if you had to get, a nice set of things to last you, say, like the next year, what would you get with $300? So I went through that list. I actually was able to, and this may surprise you, I was actually able to fit 9 games into the $300. And I have also just a couple honorable mentions that I'm going to talk through too that just didn't quite make the cut for either price reasons or just availability reasons, or just that it was just below these other ones. And some of this list are going to be ones that you go, okay, yeah, I expect that. Yeah, that makes sense. And a couple of these are going to be ones that are actually going to probably surprise you. So let's break it down. I'll give you the money as we go. And, I use Board Game Oracle. So, it's a little bit of plus or minus there, but I tried to take not just the lowest, not just the highest, but something, slightly in between. So without further ado, what is number one? Well, number one, in case you didn't know me, Spirit Island. Spirit Island. This is number one. This is the number one game that I would pick up first. Without any question. It's about $57 average online new. Now, again, I'm going back, I guess I should say that I'm looking at these and saying I'm not trying to get these on the secondary market for a little bit cheaper, because you could probably take, a good $5 or $10 off of these games, and that, that's cheating. I'm going to go retail from that aspect of things. So this would be number one. And this is sort of also adjacent to an honorable mention as well, because I have to feel like the honorable mentions, just for sheer variety, I probably wouldn't pick up Branch and Claw or Jagged Earth, but both of those would be on the short list actually for honorable mentions as well. I love the depth. I love the complexity. I love the variety of the spirits just within the base game. It gives you so much. It just keeps on giving. I can't get enough of it. And it's cooperative, so I don't have to worry about competitiveness, head-to-head losing sort of situation. It gives a little bit more of a depth to complexity ratio than a lot of these other games that are going to be on this list. And so just from that reason, it already stands out as something completely different. Now, the second one up on this list, I couldn't actually find the right copy of it, but it's the game. The game. This is the 2-player edition, but I have the original of the game somewhere in my collection as well. And this is going to run you about $10. $10. So that's really good price point for a really fun card game. One of those games that you go, why didn't I think of this? Playing cards in numerical stacks and trying to play all of them as a cooperative game, anywhere from like 2 to 5 players. It just freaking works. The 2-player game's good, and there's a reason I still have the 2-player game here in my collection, but it's not as good. It's a sprint. This is a sprint. The other one is sort of a slow negotiation. You got what I got going on with these numbers, a little bit of that, depending on how much table talk you allow. But it's a very, very solid game. I would never want to not play it in terms of if somebody got it out. So I just love it from that aspect. And for the price point, you can't really beat the value that comes from it with that. So that's also why it was an easy off the top of my head, gonna be in a collection that I would restart at this point as well. Now we're going something different with number 3 here. And now I had to go back and forth and decide, okay, do I want the original version? Do I want the big box version? Is the extra, $17 worth it? And this is Isle of Skye. I really like Isle of Skye. I think the tile laying and the auction mechanics are just freaking fantastic. And it's a competitive game. And I think I need a little bit of competition as well. I don't have just solely cooperative. Like sometimes you like to go head to head to see how well you can outbest your opponent. And, I wanted the big box edition, but $17 to get the little modules and the extra expansion, I just don't think is worth it. When my budget is this constrained, because this gives you still tons of different modular victory point end conditions that you're going for. Each game you have A, B, C, and D, and they take the combinations of each of those, and you can just mix and match, and there's just so much variety even in the base game that you don't need the other stuff at this point. Do you like the other stuff? Absolutely. Should you potentially think about getting the other stuff as well? Like not as high as maybe like Spirit Island or another cooperative games expansions that's on this list next. But that is one that is also, something that is relatively significant that I can't discount. That is just something completely different in terms of those mechanics. And it's the only auction game on this list. I'm not a huge auction game fan, but it definitely fits the bill. Again, the next one up here that I'm pulling out should be no surprise to most of you. Bullet. bullet. And I'm going to cheat with this one because I really want the wooden bullets. And, you know, if you got the crowdfunding price, it was in that. But if you say, okay, I'll deal with the cardboard and, you know, oh, sorry, Isle of Skye was 33 for the original average right now, even though I've seen people selling it for 15. See, that's one I could have cheated on. I could have gotten that in the secondary market. You can pick that up for like 10 or 15 bucks if you're savvy. But the big box right now is going to cost you 50 bucks, and that discrepancy was too much. But this is Bullet Heart. Bullet Heart level 99 games is open Magnus for me. This is one of my favorite games, head-to-head, real-time, sort of dropping these things down, trying to allocate the patterns, to eliminate them, to send them to your opponent, to knock out your opponent and overflow their board. Solo, competitive, cooperative, although cooperative is really the bee's knees where it's at. And so this one just can't be beat. Now, did I go for this one over Star? Yeah, I did. I just don't have enough play in for Star because I know there's one or two that I really love in this, and I don't know how Star fares. But they're both about the same in terms of actual price point, being about $32 at retail right now. So that was also a very, 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 very easy pick. We're going to go somewhere slightly different here, and this one is going to surprise some of you, but if you've been watching my channel for a long time, this also shouldn't be any surprise. This is Hive. This is the pocket version of Hive. Hive is one of, if not the best modern abstract out there. I say that, yep. I say that without any doubt. You don't need the little ladybug or pillbug or whatever expansions with it. They're nice, they're extra, but the base game of just pocket right now will only run you $18. And the quality that goes into this, the size, the portability, I mean, these tokens are just freaking fantastic when it comes to this. I can't get enough of these tokens that are just very solid. And again, the price point and the depth of complexity without needing the rules overhead of, say, even something like Spirit Island, which isn't like super intense, makes its replayability just off the charts, more than anything else on this list, without any question. But if I'm going to have one abstract game, right? If I'm going to have one abstract game that I can play head-to-head, I need a little variety. And the other variety one here is Tak. Again, very, very simplistic, very straightforward. I can't believe this was a made-up game based off of a book series game. It just doesn't make any sense. And you just basically have these little wooden tokens, and you just got to connect the top portions of the stacks on one side to the other as yours. And I've never been so enamored by a game. This is my top played abstract game in my collection, without a doubt. The games are quick, they're furious. Yes, I believe that if you go to the in-depth ranking and tournament situations, people are like, yeah, there's too much of a big first player advantage. I play it casually, folks. Yeah, you occasionally get that, but it's just a fantastic game where all of a sudden you just miss something and you go, oh crap, and the other person wins, and then you know what happens? You play it again because that game only took you 3 to 10 minutes at most, and 10 minutes if you're really APing it. So this again was just an absolutely simplistic choice without any question, any doubt. And it was, it's going to run you about 32 bucks. So this one is going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's well worth it. And so that might as well lead me to one of the honorable mentions, because we're speaking about abstracts, right? One of the other abstracts, I don't even know where it is right now. Actually, you know what? It's sitting right back here now that we talk about it, behind Dune Imperium, War of the Ring. If you're not familiar at all with the GIP series, the GIP series is basically this awesome abstract game series that was put out, and there's a new GIP game coming out. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. This is Czar. Czar is the best in the series. That's not my opinion. It is my opinion, but also Board Game Geek agrees with me as well. So in case that matters to you, it doesn't, but that's okay. And the basic concept is you have 3 different colors here, and you are either trying to capture all of any one of the 3 colors, or you're trying to make it so that your opponent can't capture. And there's like only certain ways and diagonals and distances you can do that. And so it's just absolutely fantastic. The experience is probably overall much more up here, except for maybe Hive in terms of that. But it's just not as well received by everyone I play it with as the other 2 are, even though Hive is probably actually maybe plus or minus so in that sense. And so I will say that this one is just narrowly missing out. But it's going to run you about the same price point as Talk, so you could easily replace one or the other. But if you're looking at all of them, I mean, I like me some Yinch as well, but this one, after I played it, even though as much as I loved Yinch, I don't know if I've ever actually won Yinch, by the way, but this one out Yinched for me in that aspect. So no questions, no concerns about that, but I could easily on the right day swap one of those in and swap one of them out depending on how I was feeling. So that's a relatively easy one to put in there as well. Now, of these next couple games, again, I went somewhere slightly different with this one. You may have been able to predict this one. You may probably not. This is one of the quintessential games that got me into board gaming after Catan. When I went to my first local meetup group, King of Tokyo as the intro game was one that just blew my mind. Absolutely fantastically blew my mind. I will say, though, that you need the power-up expansion. And so for that reason, because you need power-up, my choice is actually Dark here. And Dark actually replaces it just because Dark is going to be so much better from a long-term standpoint of price point with the additional powers that make it more asymmetric. The variability there. The base game is nice, but it needs the power-up expansion to really give it any legs. And so price point wise, it was $50 for both of these, and it was like, I think, about 42 or 43 with Dark. So just that slight difference, again, allowing me to slot in another game or two into this situation to get a more well-rounded collection to be able to start off. And so that's why I ultimately had to choose Dark here instead of the original, as much as I like me both. And you notice both of those are my collection still. I just love me some good dice chuckers. This is dice Yahtzee chucking with asymmetric powers, and it's just a heck of a lot of fun. So that one's there. Speaking of dropping things, the Loop. In case you wouldn't have guessed, the Loop is on my list. That is the other cooperative game. What can I say? This is one of my favorite games of all time. I bookend here with some cooperative games. This one, again, is going to cost you probably around $35 or so right now, new. And it just does something fantastic in a delightful way of dropping those little cubes down the center and having them pop out, and just the action mitigation randomness and the eras that you're going through in the time loop. Again, the honorable mentions for this is the expansions. And I would make the argument that Revenge of Fozilla is nice, but bang for my buck, I probably want Furbrigade expansion, which is sitting back right over here, just to get the 2 extra characters and a few extra cards, because the price point for this is going to be about 20. The other price point is probably going to be about like 30, 35. So honorable mention wise, this one definitely makes the cut more than Revenge of Fozilla, but both are excellent. Just like with the Spirit Island, it's sort of branch and claw price wise versus price wise of Jagged Edge, right? Very, very similar in that regard, but I easily something that I have no qualms about saying has also made the cut. So if you're keeping along score at home, that is 8 games. What was number 9? Number 9 over here. Number 9 over here is Quacks. Again, something completely different. Quacks of Quedlinburg. Just a fantastic looking game. Fantastic press your luck style of bag building. Do you need the expansions? No, you don't. Do I have the expansions? Yes. Did I just get the big box in a math trade? Yes. Do you need them though? Again, no. It's going to cost you a little bit more. This one's going to be $40. I can play this with my 10-year-old niece and nephews, my 9-year-old kid. I can also play it with my game group, and everybody is equally happy. Again, mechanic-wise, it offers you something completely separate, completely different, and just unique compared to a lot of what's out there. They really haven't replicated this in another game that I've seen since this has come out, and you would imagine that if they could, they would. And so I would imagine in the next couple of years, you'll see something similar to this in a slightly different manner. And if you can do that, you have another hit on your hands, folks, or all you designers that are watching out my videos, right? Like, who watches my videos as a designer? Nobody. But those are the 9 games. What else did I mention in terms of honorable mentions that just didn't quite make the cut? Number 1 here, Scout. I mean, it's going to run you about like $18 or so right now. It's just another light style card game, competitive though. And so just the contentious nature of that with the other competitive games, I think you just need a little bit more cooperative. And that's why the game edged out the Scout from that aspect. But I absolutely love this game. This was a top 10 game of the year for me of 2022. It's just fantastic. Everybody who plays it loves it, and it does something slightly differently with the rearranging of your hand with the numbers and the putting down sets in a poker style-ish way in a slightly different manner. So cannot be discounted. It's on the short list easily from that side of things. Also behind me, right here, Dune Imperium. Again, probably one of the few worker placements I will wholeheartedly endorse. I have both expansions for it. And again, I wouldn't pick up either of the expansions for this sort of list, but just with the base game alone, it offers a whole ton of replayability and the deck building plus the worker placement side of things. Again, we saw 3 of those games with Endless Winter, Lords of Arnak, and Dune Imperium. We haven't seen much of it since, and I'm wondering if it's going to make a resurgence sometime there in the future, just by the sheer popularity of it in general. Again, the price point though with that one, ranging between $40 and $50, sort of made it a little bit less desirable, given the dollar restraints on this list in the first place. And then the last one up over here, Layman's piece de résistance is Rares Arcana. I love the card-driven engine building where you just get 10 cards and you have to go. Again, everything else is a sort of a building. This is you got everything you need, you got to make it work. And there's not a lot of games that really make you force things out from that aspect. And I can't discount how fun this is. I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people play it as a complete optimization energy puzzle. And I can get sort of a 3-turn, 4-turn game and then it's over and blah, 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 blah. And you know what? If you play it with people that are about relatively equal to you, you just have fun with it and it's on an equal playing field. And the cool combos that you can make, again, can't be discounted. The expansions, I think, are absolutely fantastic. Are they absolutely necessary? No. The base game will give you a lot of run for your money as well from that aspect. So again, that's a very similar thread between all of these games. And the last one up is sitting over on the shelf here. And that's, I'm not even going to get it down for this last one, Pandemic Iberia. I mean, it just got beat out by Spirit Island in the Loop, right? It's one of my favorite cooperative games. The variability, the depth, the difficulty with that one, a comparative to all of the other pandemics, especially the standalone pandemics, cannot be discounted. I will argue, and I will die on this hill. This is a hill I will die on, that this is the best version of Pandemic. Yes, I'm including Legacies in that conversation. I will fight you on that. So yes, Legacies are great and you get a one-off experience. I can still play that this day. I don't have, a framed version of Legacy sitting on my wall that I can never play again or that I threw out in the trash. I know those are fighting words, but that's how strongly I feel, folks. So those are the games if you're playing along those 9 games. I believe I was hit almost right on the dot of 300 if I did my math right. And I didn't actually try and do that beforehand, but it was, very close either way. But some of those honorable mentions as well are high up there, and I could see myself swapping in like one of these games and getting an expansion like Jagged Earth or Branching Claw in place of, say, maybe one of the abstracts, if you will. Again, depending on the day, depending on my feelings, depending on my thoughts. But those are the games that I said, okay, sit down, think of games for 15 minutes. Again, like not overthinking it, but like what are the ones that immediately come to your mind, right? That you're like, oh my gosh, I need this one. Oh my gosh, I have to have. That's the type of list that this is. And that's why it's so interesting, because it's not always the ones you think of, the ones that are like the highest ranked or the highest rated. It's the, right? And that's why it's fun to do, because you're going to tell me how wrong I am in the comment section. I'm going to tell you how wrong you are in the comment section. What would be on your short list? What would be on your short list? Would you go bigger? Would you go with something like, like El Grande? I love El Grande. You can't get a copy of El Grande though for like less than $75 right now. So for me, again, personally, something like that, it was excluded because it just couldn't fit within the constraints, because I'm going to lose out on 2 or 3 of these other games at least from that aspect. But I love that game, and if you could get it for an average retail price for $30 or $40, it probably would have bumped one of these out. I mean, that's the sort of balance you got to do with a list like this, though, which makes it all the more intriguing to see what people actually choose, and what gets left out is almost as intriguing at the same time. So if you like this, there's more where that came from. Subscribe if you want. Going for 10K by the end of the year. I'm not going to get it, but I am, boy howdy, going to try for it anyway. So have a great day. Again, let me know down below what would be on your list, or what would you have thought would have made your list and wouldn't actually make your list. It's a nice little teaser here for you. Thanks for watching. See you around.